Hi everyone. Just wanted to add something and do a part 2 to my last video. And that is basically that, like, when you, there is something obviously about like collective prayer and like praying together and stuff. And praying in unison, which is that's like a very overt teaching in Islam. But there's lots of like Muslims that don't have open hearts, so they're just kind of like robots in prayer, if you ask me. Because it's kind of like just doing the techniques, because you're going to get a good mark at school. Like, you just going through the motions and doing what you were taught, because you're going to get a good grade at school. That's basically like how a lot of Muslims are, in my view. But there is something about like always praying to the one direction. But I don't really think that one direction should be Mecca. Like, because if you look at Saudi Arabia now, like, it's just dirty money. Like, that's all it reminds me of. Like even the pilgrimage, it's just become a tourist attraction. It's not really rooted in faith. It's just rooted in dirty money. And God's not really going to judge you if you don't have the money to go and do it, because you've been outpriced. Like, that's not how God operates. But that's the kind of situation that it's become, which is like ridiculous. So it's like people that it's the same kind of concept that people that bankrupt themselves to afford Christmas. Like, God would never want that for anyone. I'm just saying. But yeah, but there is something about praying together and stuff like that, and praying in unison. But there's like, people forget that if you're congruent on your own and you pray, that there's more power in that than lots of people together essentially just praying in the wrong direction. And also, like, if you look at the prophets, they all did one thing, like, that's very common, that they've got one common thing, and they spent time alone, they meditated, they spent time in nature. There's a very common theme between how the prophets lived and their way of life. And this is regardless of like religion. And essentially, like, when you get to know yourself and you trust yourself and stuff, and through meditation, you just tune yourself up. You just continually tuning yourself up. And basically, like, I feel like a lot of the religions, you need guidance and things, but they're not really to teach you codependence. And I think a lot of like the sheikhs and the imams and the priests and the nuns and stuff, it's just a form of it's just a barrier to God. Like, if you're always going to a priest or whatever, you just kind of like giving your power away. That's how I see it. Like, you're just giving your power away when you can be a direct conduit and have direct conversations with God yourself, and trust actually in the unseen. And that's how you bridge two worlds. You're not always just rooted in physical reality all the time. And I think that's where a lot of religious people go wrong. And basically I think that's just a money-making thing as well. Like, it actually, they're a barrier to real faith, those people in those religious jobs. That's all I see as like a job. And like sometimes preaching, I think, is actually forceful, and there's no in true faith is not forced. It's not forced. It's like a lock and a key, and you've got to have the right key for the right lock. That's what it is. So it's not that one religion is right over another. It's that one religion might speak to you in a language that encourages you to live a more faithful life. That's why they all exist, because we don't all respond to the same inputs and outputs to get the same outcome. We don't all get the same outcomes from the same processes as well. I think people forget that. It's like when there's different forms of, you can have different options for treatment for the same diagnosis. And like you go through all the different options for treatment, like a process of elimination, until you get one that works or won't work, kind of thing. It's like for you. And that's why faith is really about knowing yourself, because it's better to understand the communication that works for you, and like the ways of life that work for you to keep you in a state of movement and flow and process and outcome, rather than just saying I'm a Muslim, or I'm a Christian, or I'm a Jew, or I'm a Hindu. Do you know if that makes any sense? Because it's just like, it's all separate. That's all separation consciousness, and it's not really rooted in any kind of real reality. And really like there's people that don't have those titles that are like really like angels in disguise. Like, you can go to a priest who's got that title and like go to confession or whatever, but really then you might have a therapist that is just very insightful and worldly wise or whatever, that can give you like good guidance and stuff without the attachment or without the prestige or without, which is, and just, it's just having the sight to see that. Because there's just, I think a lot of people just cling on to religion. It's a status thing rather than anything else. Or like Muslims are funny because like they all divide themselves up into sects and things, and in the Quran there's no sects. There's no sects at all. It doesn't even speak of them. It just speaks of oneness. It speaks of believers and non-believers, and the non-believers are called the mujrimeen, which is criminal. It means criminals. So it doesn't even speak of like yeah, like Sunni or Shia or Sufi. Like, it doesn't. And like, I remember when I did that tour, I did a tour with the Amos Trust where I was a resident poet on it. There was another like Palestinian guy who I've not really spoken to him or anything since, but like I spent like over a week with those guys, and he kept calling me Sophia, Sophia, and I never really identified as a Sophia. I'm like, basically like, and that's just basically from listening to my poetry. And if anyone's familiar with Rumi, like Rumi is known as a Sufi mystic, like Muslim, even though I don't even know if he's actually older than Islam. Someone can correct me. I'm not, if he's, I don't know, someone might know and correct me and put it in the comments. But yeah, Rumi might be older than Islam. But also, like, there's lots of people that don't understand that actually, like, there's lots of people who have a way of life that are illiterate. And I kind of think that's the appeal of Prophet Muhammad, because Prophet Muhammad was illiterate. And he had a way of life that people follow. Like, so it's not necessarily about reading a book or knowing a technique or, you know, following instructions to the letter and doing it repetitiously. Like, there's another ingredient to faith. There's another ingredient to faith. And I think that's what is missing in a lot of people's practice, because it's just kind of like for show, and that faith is not for show. Like, a lot of people don't live the lives that are kind of akin to the prophets' lives. Like, no one really talks about Job, who lost everything. Like, God made him, like, God gives and takes away. Like, Job lost everything. So look at the Palestinian people now. I hate saying that because it feels like I'm saying it as like I'm a distant from them, not as one of them. But look at, like, the people in Gaza now. They've lost everything. And there's people that are just going out of the way to just destroy, because they believe that they're following a God that's not the same. Or, like, how it's like to show how can you believe in God if this has happened to you, when there's actual stories. Like, there's actual stories of prophets that have lived and experienced similar lives. And also, like, people forget that Isa was born in rubble. Like, he was born in the same conditions like a lot of the babies that are, like, being born and dying in these horrible conditions. So it's just a bit stupid. It's all like, I don't know, it's like, why would you, like, life is not rosy. like it's like there's all those people, like, for example, Israeli people who think that they're Jewish, but are going around basically, like, doing everything that is against all the 10 Commandments in plain view every day, and don't think there's any wrath coming for them. Yeah, like, and like just doing the most to show that we're chosen. People who are chosen don't do that. Like, people who are chosen don't do that. Like, people that God like supports and stuff, they struggle on their own a lot of the time. They struggle on their own until something breaks through for them. And it's like they're even stupid, because, like, the story of Moses, like, killed someone when he was a youth or something like that. That was seen as like a betrayal to Pharaoh, who tried to kill Moses. So Moses had to run away and leave and got exiled. Which is like basically like they're basically acting like Pharaoh. So their prophet that they idolize and worship, like they don't even realize how dumb their behavior is. And like yeah, they're like they're just indoctrinated, to be honest. They're just indoctrinated. But there's people that they make that their mission. Like, how can you have a God when you have nothing material? When God, like everything is immaterial. Everything is immaterial, and everything comes from source. Everything is from source to begin with. It's not from material. Like, it's just so weird. And anything engineered that's not in alignment with source, like this stuff happens, like in response to that, because at the end of the day, all the universe does is balance. That's all it tries to do, is balance. And if humans, if you don't do it yourself, then God comes in and does it for you. That's basically like how it works. And it's interesting as well. There's like earthquakes in Ethiopia. Along the Great Rift. And basically, like, spiritually, like, valleys are like a symbol of like isolation and loneliness, and like, God being with you when you think all is lost. So it's like, it's interesting that it looks like there's going to be massive volcanic eruption from the Great Rift, and that the Red Sea was created by shifting the tectonic plates. I don't know how many years ago, but I do think there's something in that why is all of that happening now? Because it's quite localized areas where it's happening, and it is definitely along, like, it's just weird how it's along those valleys. So make of that what you will. Well, I'm telling you what I've made of it is that God is really there when you think all is lost. God never leaves you. If anything, you leave God, and anything that tries to convince you that God isn't there when all seems lost in your life, like God is in you, like God is in you. It's not necessarily in your life situation. So if your life situation looks dire, God is in you, and God is a creator as well as a destroyer. And you can still create. So all is not lost. You still have the capacity to create. It's not, let's go and destroy everything for all these other people so we can look better and live off their demise. That's not God. That's just reprobate behavior. That's just delinquents. Like, they get what's coming to them. That's just delinquency. It's a disease, basically. Like, it's just a disease. Yeah, it's just a disease. And the people that is like, we have to take everything away from you, so you get set back however many decades, and so you appear to the outside world that you are nothing and you amount to nothing, and so we can maintain our image. But they're the ones who claim that they're like they're godly people. Like, there's no, it's just, yeah, it's just weird. And also, like, a lot of the Jews as well, they have, it's, their worship is not open. Like, anyone can go to a mosque and anyone can go to a church. You can go in open and stuff. But with Jews, it's very secretive, and it's like, it's just because it's rituals and spell work and dark magic and all of that kind of stuff. It's very sinister. And like, and God isn't sinister. God is open. Like, God wants you to be open-hearted. And God works to unlock your heart. If your heart is closed, God works with you to unlock it, so you can live openly and more authentically. Anything like that's shrouded in secrecy and stuff like that is not godly. It's criminal. It's the mujrimeen. So in the Quran, it's the mujrimeen. It's the non-believers. And it's like, yeah, it's like ways of worship is very important. Ways of worship is important. Also, like, people purposely doing things to gain favor and gain praise, when God doesn't really do that. God doesn't care. Like, God doesn't necessarily want you to favor him. God just watches if you walk. Like, God guides you and just watches if you work with him to take the steps, and that's it. And then if you progress, you get more, and then you get more, and then that's it. That's all how it works. But it's a lot of being with yourself and meditating and understanding yourself, and like healing trauma, like shedding layers that people put on you, to be able to like tune up. Because like, when people go to priests and imams and things like that, or go to those secret Jewish meetings that are like the witches from Moldal, they're not actually tuning up. It's like, it's low life. It's just low life. All of that is low life. Because and also, like, people don't realize that you can actually, like, all of your loved ones and stuff, and like your passed over ancestors, are always with you all the time. But you just have to be at a vibration enough to access it, and that's it. And that's what Prophet Muhammad did. He was talking to Archangel Gabriel on the mountain. That's all he was doing. Just channeling. She was just channeling. They're just a channel, an instrument of the divine. Like musicians channel, or like poets channel, or artists channel, or anything like that. Like, he's just a channel. Or like Einstein got his theory of relativity, like that kind of thing. Like, it's just, yeah. Like, a lot of discoveries are just people that just follow guidance that they can't see. That's it. But most people don't do that these days. Most people don't realize that you can just live a better way of life that's more pure and like connect, like be a, just if you're a higher frequency instrument, you can just connect to you can just produce, you can just channel things and just produce quality, basically. That's it. Produce quality and produce things that last, and that's it. That's, it might be too basic a message, but I just think a lot of the best things are simple. And maybe I'm just too simple. Anyway, I don't know if that made sense to anyone, but I'm guided to share. So if anyone does resonate, let me know. And yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And like, subscribe, comment, and see you next time. Bye, love yous.